started making gestures at me now, which I think means he wants me to cut my speech short. So suffice to say that I think he'll make a ripping husband, and I think his wife's ripping too, and I can only hope that the dress will hold out. So I'd like to propose a toast, to go with the pate. To the groom and to his lovely horse, wife. It's all starting to come back to me now. And I just know that their marriage will be as happy and satisfied as I was when I paid off those 2 prostitutes earlier this morning.
And finally, my loving father-in-law provided the perfect end to a perfect day.
Ladies and gentlemen and friends of my daughter. There comes a time in every wedding reception when the man who paid for the damn thing is allowed to speak a word or 2 of his own. And I should like to take this opportunity, sloshed as I may be, to say a word or 2 about Martin. As far as I'm concerned, my daughter could not have chosen a more delightful, charming, witty, responsible, wealthy, let's not deny it, well-placed, good-looking, and fertile young man than Martin as her husband. And I therefore ask the question, why the hell did she marry Gerald instead? Because Gerald is the sort of man we used to describe at school as a complete prick. If I may use a gardening simile here, if his entire family may be likened to a compost heap, and I think they can, then Gerald is the biggest weed growing out of it. I think he's the sort of man people emigrate to avoid. I remember the first time I met Gerald, I said to my wife, she's the lovely woman propping up that horrendous old lush of a mother of his, either this man is suffering from serious brain damage, or the new vacuum cleaners arrive. As for his family, they are quite simply the most intolerable herd of steaming social animals I've ever had the misfortune of turning my nose up to. I spurn you as I would spurn a rabid dog. I would like to propose a toast to the caterers. And to the pigeon who crapped on the groom's family's limousine at the church. As for the rest of you around this table, not directly related to me, you can sod off. I wouldn't trust any of you to sit the right way on a toilet seat.
Good morning, everyone. Settle down now, please. Now, as you may know, we were hoping to have Mr. Jeremy Irons with us this morning, talking to us about the art of acting in the cinema. Unfortunately, Mr. Irons has had to cancel due to an unforeseen awards ceremony. But I have been able to procure the services of a local actor, Mr. Bernard Huppup, who was luckily not busy. So it's my pleasure now to read for Mr. Huppup as he illustrates his own lecture on Shakespearean acting entitled The Actor's Art. So, The Actor's Art by Bernard Huppup. At the centre of the Elizabethan world sits the king. Upon the character of the king depends the plot, and so there are many different kinds of king. The benign king with a physical defect. The mad king. The evil king. The evil king hatching a plot. The mad king hatching an egg. An important part was also played by messengers, distinguishable into many different types. A messenger enters bearing good news. A messenger enters bearing bad news. A messenger enters bearing indifferent news. A messenger enters bearing bad news, which he thinks is good news. Death came swift and often in this brutal world. Death could come at the hands of a total stranger. Or it could come at the hands of one's closest friend. Poison was particularly popular, applied to the frothing cup of ale of the unsuspecting victim. First, we look at the simple poisoning kill. And then the villain attempting to use poison. But in the end, all these were merely devices, amounting to nothing whatsoever without the plot. At the centre of the plot stands the hero, who is king. He has a twin brother, who is a villain, with a physical defect. War comes, and the hero must lead his men into battle. At the gates, the hero's mistress waits to bid her lover farewell. And the villain villain's mistress bids her lover farewell also. The war rages on for many years. Until, at last, a messenger arrives bearing the bad news of the death of the hero. So the villain becomes king. But the message was wrong. And years later, the hero returns. In disguise. Revealing his identity to the audience by means of a surreptitious wink. But his brother, the villain, recognizes him, and they fight. Finally, the villain is mortally wounded. He dies. Our hero wins his rightful throne and celebrates with a frothing cup of ale found by the side of his brother's throne.
Ashes to ashes, amen. We are gathered here today on this beautiful autumn morning to pay our last respects to Thomas Fairclough, Richard Mason, and Harold Walker. Tom, Dick, and Harry, as they were known to all of us. 3 stout fellows of our community who will be sorely missed. Tom, sadly, was blind, an affliction he bore with great fortitude, especially considering he was also deaf. His only power was that of speech and song, and we all recall his enormous voice joining lustily in our hymn singing. Of course, being blind and deaf, Tom never actually knew what hymn we were singing, which seemed appropriate, because we never knew what hymn he was singing either. In fact, if we had to be frank with each other, Tom didn't actually know any hymns. Thus it is with deep gratitude we recall the day when Colonel Grant, using only a sense of touch through the medium of a clenched fist, actually broke through to Tom and got him to shut up. Needing guidance through the darkness of life, Tom was lucky to have a friend like Dick. Dick had perfect eyesight and would gladly lead Tom wherever he wanted to go. Unfortunately, since Dick was also deaf, he couldn't actually hear where Tom wanted to go. Yet, like Tom, Dick never complained about his afflictions, did he? Well, he couldn't. He was dumb. But blessed with the gift of vision, though stone deaf, he was a tremendous fan of Olivia Newton-John. Being such an idiosyncratic pair, deaf to the world about them, Tom and Dick were to have the permanent companionship of Harry. Harry could literally hear a pin drop. Although, being blind and dumb, he could not see to pick it up, or warn anyone else not to stand on it. And so, as individuals, they were sadly afflicted. But together, they were in possession of all of God's senses, weren't they? And it is together that we remember them. together at their job, checking eggs at the battery farm. Dick would look for the cracks, Tom would complain to the foreman, and Harry would do the listening to Radio 1. Likewise, in the evening, when they had returned from work, they would all sit on the big red couch. Dick watching the television, Harry listening to the television, and Tom insisting that it was time to buy a television. Sadly, as we all know, 3 days ago, their peaceful lives were ended. Dick saw the combine harvester. Harry heard the combine harvester, but neither could cry out. Tom, who could have cried out, never had the faintest idea what hit him. And so they were all harvested together, blended into oneness at last, and now we trust are in heaven, as happy as any in that immortal host. For Dick will see the angels' choir, Harry will hear the angels' choir, and no doubt Tom will ruin it for everybody. All right, come on, settle down, please. Answer your names. Anus. Arse bandit. Bottom. Clitoris. Where are you, clitoris? Doo-doo. Enema. Fist up. Come on, grow up, please. Genital. I'm sorry, genital. Herpes. Still with us, I see. I'm a dick. I'm a dick. Enema, you know I'm a dick, don't you? Ejaculation. My prick. Has anybody seen my prick? Come on, somebody must have seen my prick. Very well, remind me to beat my prick when he does turn up. Nice and quick. On top. Pube. Ah, my prick. So good of you to turn up. Yes, well, now that you are here, my prick, perhaps you'd like to find a seat. Bottom, squeeze my prick in somewhere, though. Rigid. Our Russian exchange student, suck me off. Tight fit. Up yours. Vulva. Your prick. And zipper. Zipper. Absent. Now then, boys, the headmaster has asked me to speak to you this morning on the subject of smut. All members of staff have noticed an alarming increase in the use of silly humor and puerile innuendo about the school. Rigid, fist-up, bottom, out. There have been some disgusting doodlings on the walls of the lavatory. Sit up straight on top. One or two unpleasant health magazines have been found. If you fall asleep on top, I shall be very annoyed. And Mr. Hardon tells me that there's been a great deal of sniggering in his biology class. Tightfit, for heaven's sake, leave your prick alone. I don't care. Your prick had no business poking into your desk in the first place. I will not put up with this kind of behavior, boys. And neither, I must warn you, will Mr. Gritbig Hartcock. This is a school for the sons of gentlemen, and the theory is that one day you will turn into gentlemen yourselves. That is with the exception of Genital, who appears to be turning into a ferret. So, there will be an end to this second form toilet humor, where so much conversation is just devoted to smutty double entendre, do, suck me off nice and quick, detention Saturday. Right, I'm going to the staff room now, but if I come back and catch herpes in the corridor like the headmaster did yesterday, then there'll be trouble.